Hi, everybody out there. This is Charlene Bollinger with the truth about cancer and vaccines. And we are in the middle of doing a series called Censorship, COVID, and we're covering a lot of things under this umbrella. It's an extension of the truth about vaccines 2020. So I have a special guest with me today, Maryam Henein. Thank you so much for joining us. You are known affectionately by many as the BeeLady. Welcome.
Thank you. I'm so happy to be here.
First of all, some of our viewers are not familiar with you. You're known as the BeeLady. How did you get that term, and where are you at right now? So what are you working on?
Yes, thank you. So I'm an investigative journalist of 25 years, and I am best known for directing the award-winning film Vanishing of the Bees, about the global disappearance of honeybees, known as colony collapse disorder. The film's narrated by Ellen Page. It's still relevant. I've been blew the whistle on Bayer crop science, which is when arguably I got on the radar because my life was threatened, a veiled threat while making the movie. And then ironically, after making the movie, I was in the Dominican Republic for an environmental film festival, and I ended up being a victim of a pesticide spray. And when I returned, I was diagnosed with lupus and fibromyalgia, and I was told to take prednisone and Cymbalta, which I said, no, thank you. And it took me 6 years, and I reversed my autoimmune condition. I also I think 2004 was hit by a Ford Explorer and dragged 50 feet, broke many bones, had a metal rod put in my femur, which I removed, where 99% of people never do that. People don't believe that I reversed my autoimmune condition. I like to tell people I'm 47 years old and I practice and walk my talk. I'm also a certified functional medicine coach and consultant. So after making the film, I launched Honey Colony, which is a magazine and marketplace that kind of emulates the honeybees in that we source for the best information and products. And we wanted to create a hive. Of course, we banked on Facebook and Google and never imagined that the algorithms would be changing or that we would be in this place where health influencers and health sites are attacked, buried, shadow banned, basically digitally assassinated. And so I started feeling the wrath of what I call techno-fascism, a term I'm popularized, in 2016 with the selling of the plant compound CBD. I was blowing the whistle also on this FDA operation called Quack Hack. Yeah, that's a real name of an operation where they are targeting people that sell vitamin C, magnesium, silver. And oftentimes I report kind of like Hunter S. Thompson style where I'm living the experience as well. And so I feel like I hold an interesting perspective. Let's say it's about coronavirus or censorship, that I'm not only living proof and living the censorship, but also covering it as a journalist and also looking at the lens through functional medicine, which I believe is the future of medicine because it looks at the person as an individual and it gets to the root, and it even looks at things like antecedents, which is prior to you even being born. It's really a thorough way that I can use my investigative skills to consult and help someone. So that's what I'm doing. Wow. And I'm in the jungle. I'm in the jungle.
Yeah, you showed me the pictures. It's beautiful. Ty and I, with our children, lived in Panama, and where you're at looks very similar. Even the house that you're sitting in with the boards, the dark boards, the white walls or the light walls, the back porch, and the beautiful greenery outside. Beautiful, beautiful scenery.
Yeah, I'd like to say, Charlene, that I feel that the nature, which is so predominant, also helps give a perspective, because before I left, I was with Zach I lost my home in LA due to mold, and that helped me become a mold expert. and then was staying in the mission, like deep in the cement jungle. And I personally am very, very sensitive person. When I was living in Beechwood in Los Angeles, I lived across the street from a Cinco Geo pole. And I think the real virus is one of hate and one of fear. And so staying here also gives me a perspective when part of me wishes that I was in part of the action covering it as a journalist on the ground. But at the same time, I can also have a perspective here I chose to come here because there's no shortage of food. I'm surrounded by farmers. I'm surrounded by nature. There's no Cinco Geo, but there is a lockdown. We arrived the day after coronavirus did, and the way they've handled it helped me cement my belief that this is an orchestrated global pandemic. So also, while I was reading The Coming Plague and I was still in Los Angeles, I was reading your book, you and Ty's book, and referencing it as I was covering Samoa. And so it's an honor to be speaking with you. And the way I met Zach is because my company lost 76% of our traffic, Honey Colony, due to the medic update. And there were 2 renditions of it. And so I'm like, I'm going to look into Google. And I'm actually the one who told him, hey, Google's a drug company. When I found out that Verily Alphabet is involved in the decade of vaccines, and that they were involved in creating a one-size-fits-all flu vaccine, which, just knowing how the flu strains work, is absolute nonsense. When I found that out, and then a couple weeks later, I came across Zach on Project Veritas, and he was blacked out. And then I saw him on InfoWars, and I know it's silly, but like I looked at the screen in his eyes and I felt a connection. And regardless, I was like, I'm going to reach out to this guy and see if he can confirm any of my findings about the Gulag. So that's how we met. And we did an amazing 2-hour interview way before most interviewed Zach on health. And I was blown away by his, he has a science. I'm not a scientist. I'm not a science brain. I'm more of a creative, but at his passion for health and how much he knew. And so when we met initially, I was still in school, and I had a lot of curriculum about functional medicine, and we just basically geek out together. We wake up and we're both like separately doing our research 10 hours a day and then comparing notes. And I don't know who else would do this with me, or would be on the same page. And so meeting Zach also, I was really jaded. And I can't tell you, like I've lost $250,000 because of all the shutdowns of merchant processors because of CBD. I'm banned from PayPal. I'm banned from GoFundMe. I'm banned from Kiva. I'm banned from Airbnb. I'm banned from Instacart. And all the merchant processors, the main ones, shut us down. And so every time we were shut down, we weren't able to transact. So we ended up having to take loans. And at the time, my business partner told me over and over again to get out of operations, and just fine with me. I didn't want to be in operations. But what they ended up doing, because we'd lost so much capital, being shut down, we were making about $15,000 a week. And then 3 weeks goes by, there's a lot of money and you can't run your business. So we ended up taking not 1, but 3 loans, but they were predatory loans. And in fact, Bloomberg, as I was doing research the year after, I found like this extensive, amazing piece on the racket of these predatory loans and how the New York Marshal was in on it and has now since resigned. But what happened was they made me, Maryam, personally liable. So I've been a digital nomad. I've lived in Rome, I've lived in Greece, I've lived in Costa Rica, running and building my company from the ground up, from scratch. And when I came back from Greece, I had been working with Jason Prawl, helped out on the Human Longevity Project, and was researching blue zones and longevity, because I consider myself also a biohacker. And I returned, and all my accounts, my personal accounts, were seized. I had these predator shark, like also kind of mafioso, come to my door, and they were also calling me. One called and said, "I'm going to blow up your company. We hate bees." And my business partner was nowhere to be seen. And I basically put Humpty Dumpty together again. And people told me, just file for bankruptcy. And I said, no, I'm helping people. Oh, imagine that, being abundant, doing something actual good. And or they told me, stop selling CBD. And I said, why? This is a legal plant compound. So the politics of CBD and techno-fascism is really where opened my eyes to what was happening, and started feeling censorship. And just to say to your audience that this plant compound with no psychoactive properties was placed as a Schedule 1, even though the government also patented CBD for their antioxidant protective qualities. And then they were really working with GW Pharma, which has an exclusive marketing relationship with Bayer. So I tell people, what are the chances of sharing bees and bud with Bayer? But I do. And so when it became Big Pharma created their FDA fake, faux, synthetic CBD, they conveniently took it off of Schedule 1, and then it fell under the purview of the FDA. And then they had last summer 100 speakers, 10 hours of testimony, which I was listening to live stream. And the takeaway for the media was that only the FDA approved CBD is safe, which is bollocks. It's not true at all. In any case, all of that really was my initiation into the medical mafia and their power for a beautiful plant compound. And during that process, I had to let go of many people that I had employed, and I became a one-woman show yet again. And I was doing customer service and speaking to all these sick people who were thanking me because of my beautiful CBD formula, which galvanized me and was like, I'm not gonna just roll over. Sorry, I'm not. And now there's an attack with an FDA operation called Quack hack, where the FDA, I asked for an interview. They didn't have time, but they did respond to me. And they said, first of all, they defined quacks. So we are quacks, even though they're the quacks, and it's all inverted truths and projections. And then the hack part is that they have jurisdiction to do whatever it is to disrupt what they think is a fraudulent business under the guise of coronavirus, because I was told that I'm selling a fraudulent, or I can't even say prevention now, prevention. And so all of this to say that yet again, I fell under the attacks now of the FDA, where we got issued an FTC letter, and then recently our processor once again was frozen, which is very disruptive. And as we also know, that the WHO is dictating the CDC, the HHS, to these social media platforms on what is acceptable. And then Susan Wojcicki taking directives from the WHO to not even allow videos on something as benign as vitamin C, even though there's plenty of studies at the NIH. So this is a real operation. And for instance, one colleague or one silver seller, they woke up, Charlene, and they had been cut at the server level. So their whole site disappeared. They were in business 23 years. And because they were selling colloidal silver and associating with coronavirus, that gave them means to destroy them, basically.
So Maryam, are you saying that they cut them at the server center. Are you saying that at their website, they cut their website down? What are you saying
Yeah,
there?
I'm saying, well, you're hosted by a server, so they dismantled the server level, and the site
Wow.
doesn't exist. And if you go, it's a company called Zephyr, Xepher. I think they're under a different website. I can send it to you, but it basically says, due to the DOJ and the FDA, and by the way, Quack Hack also involves criminals investigation unit. So they're involving the FTC. And the last I checked, there were 54 letters that were issued, and then the week after, it had gone up to 93 letters. So this is really using COVID-19 as to usher in whatever it is that they want. And I
So
think
we're
it's
coming in. This is kind of shocking. So I just want to
yeah.
be sure that the audience understands this, that I understand. Um, our website should be safe. So for them to come in and literally cut it at the server, and for those that may not know, a server is what hosts your website. Now there's YouTube, there's Facebook, there's Twitter. Those are somebody else's platforms. They've got their servers and they're kicking all of us off of it. They're censoring our stuff. But when you get into your own website and you're saying that the DOJ, the FDA, and Quack Hack came in and cut the server because they were selling silver and making claims. Is that what happened there?
Yes. I mean, if you go to the warning letters, there are people that that obviously benefit from a crisis, including the elitists. And there's people in the natural space that are, try to benefit, or they don't have quality. But it's not like we're like, oh, there's coronavirus, let's start selling this. No, I've been selling this for almost 10 years. Nothing's changed. I've always sold silver. I've always sold liposomal vitamin C, meaning for a long time. It's
Right.
not like my actions changed. And silver is, there's studies that the people in the silver community are gathering because they're being scrubbed conveniently. Some of them that even showed coronavirus that works. And let's tell the audience too, the EPA lists silver as a disinfectant. The Army uses silver. It was the original antimicrobial that was swept under the proverbial rug with the advent of penicillin. And we have a huge antibiotic resistance epidemic that we've been covering also for as long as we've been selling silver. So why is it that they want to go after silver? So one of the things I did, because I was also one of the first to look into Charles Lieber, and I believe that he's very much implicated and missing in action, according, which I can or cannot, I don't have to get into it, but I actually go and look at court documents and be an actual journalist. And so I did a search, and all of Charles Lieber's nanoparticles are made out of silver. So I was trying to understand, why are they going after silver now? It was CBD, and it is an antimicrobial, and God forbid we do natural things, and God forbid we remember that we have an innate immune system, and we don't have to take drugs or be reliant on drugs to heal. But the fact that we can't even...
You mean that these sicknesses are not a drug deficiency? Is that what you're saying? We don't have a chemical deficiency?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. Imagine that to use natural means, like telling the public to be under lockdown instead of going in the sun. Being in Costa Rica, and the beaches are still locked down. I have a curfew. They closed the whole country down on 2 supposed deaths of coronavirus. And the ticos are the ones that are the most scared in this community. I think now most are not wearing their masks. Or there was a gathering, Charlene, I guess an underground gathering, and meaning underground, and the police came. Someone snitched on them in the middle of nowhere in the jungle. And I am in a very, very remote place, and we did not have a car, and we did not literally leave our home for 60 days. So we just left for the first time. We trespassed on the beach. We risked 2 years of jail, and we spent a glorious morning with the beach all to ourselves. They opened the beach from 5 to 8 in the morning. And I was like, wow, do the surfers have some cartel? And I looked, and there was a countrywide surfers had created a petition. So they've opened the beaches just for the surfers, and the beaches are not open on the weekends because we know now that coronavirus only works on the weekends. It's so ludicrous, so ludicrous.
Inconsistent to the max. None of it makes sense. I mean, none of it. But the sad part about all of this, so many people are swallowing it hook, line, and sinker.
Yeah, so many people, so many. I had someone who called me out of the blue. He was a friend of my exes, and he came, and my tendency, we from Montreal, Egyptian, Greek, I kiss people on both sides. I'm affectionate, so just naturally I went to hug him because I hadn't seen him, and he's like, oh, I just came back from the market. And we went through our fear porn phase. We were wearing masks outside, gloves. We even got hazmat suits, Zach and I. We had a protocol because we were in the future. I mean, we were really ahead of most, and we went through that period, and I'm like, this is no way to live. So back to my friend, I went to give him a hug, and he goes, oh, goes, oh, you're one of those conspiracy theorists. Again, it's like, you've been spending 3 months every single day for 10 hours. So of course you know more than I do. And then he called me a conspiracy theorist. And then he's like, well, how about those 2 people that I know that died, which is also something you hear. I've gotten hate mail because it's like, how dare you? Listen, show me let's look at the files. Let's see, how old was this person? What meds were they on? What comorbidities did they have? What was given to them in the hospital? Were they put on a ventilator? Was the person cornered, bribed, and given more money? Let's look at the details, because that's where the devil lies. And no one seems to be looking at details because we live in an age of mediocrity. It's too bad. So those 2 people, anybody, I had an interview with John Rappaport. He also has gotten it's like, show me the records. It's a case by case individual. It's not, we do not lump all humans together. And it's not to say, I'm not saying that coronavirus doesn't exist in any way. And I'm not saying that you can't fall prey to it if you're already a sick individual. And when we came here, Zach got sick a few days. He likely could have had coronavirus. He was sick for 3 weeks with a very bad cough. I didn't get sick. Why? So, I mean, I think it's just, it's infuriating to see this divide and conquer, to see people being used as pawns, and to succumb to the fear, and to lose the world as we know it. Every day, like you said, people are waking up, and we're unstoppable. And we made the cover of Newsweek, where they called us anti-vaxxers, which a term I'm sure you also do not like. I say I'm pro medical freedom, and I'm part of a group on Twitter, and we support each other, and we retweet and I'm so blown away, Charlene, at how intelligent, how much, whether they're mothers who have experienced, whose children are now maimed for life, or whether they're researchers, how intelligent and bright they are, and how much together we've uncovered and shared. I'm so proud to be part of this community. I'm honored to be part of it, because we're part of a revolution. And when I found out of Operation Quack Hack, I'm like, okay, I'm going to go see what I can find about you, Fauci. I don't know anyone else who's found the lawsuit against him. I did, and it had to do with Zika, which just so happens to be, another manufactured crisis that I covered in length and wrote many stories about. And at that time, I didn't know that there was that other, he secured $1.1 billion. And this doctor, Michael Hall, who sued Fauci, because they were spraying Nailed. And it just so happened back then, I want to say this was also 2016 and 2017, I met a man in Miami that was one of the many that was going to the city hall pleading, please don't poison us. Why are you spraying Nailed that causes microcephaly to prevent microcephaly? This doesn't make sense. This is a poison. Could you imagine? I can't even imagine if I had planes overhead and then so this lawsuit was implicating NIH, implicating Fauci, and implicating the Floridian state officials who arguably knew they were giving contradicting information to the people, saying that it's safe, and then 2 lines down saying we advise to avoid pesticides at all costs. And this is my mission, to share that we are the bees that are slowly being poisoned by sublethal doses. And that now includes genetically modified, non-organic information that's on these search engines that placate to WebMD and other sites that are not alternative or do not stand up for the immune system. But I was disgusted, and then I called him up the next day, the doctor, and he had a one-on-one with Fauci after the lawsuit at the Aspen Institute, and went up to him, and he basically said that it had to be carried out for optics to save tourism in Florida. So people got poisoned under Fauci's watch for the case of optics, so that he can get his $1.1 billion. I call him the pandemic impresario. That's who he is. So little Maryam, and then I found another lawsuit that he filed because he's part of the Doris Duke Foundation, which is big tobacco. And guess who it was against? They filed the lawsuit against Imelda Marcos. And that's another story. But it's like, I am determined to take the vaccine deep state down, and they think I'm just a little bee. They're not going to digitally assassinate me. I'm not going to shut up, and I'm not going to roll over and just go away.
Wow. So you have covered a lot of ground. You've been through a lot. You've researched a lot. You've written about a lot. You've exposed a lot. And you've been a critical mover and shaker to the New World Order. And, you know, speaking of which, the New World Order, we've got back in the 90s, President Bush saying something about the New World Order, ode to the New World Order. And we've got the Chicago mayor now saying the deputies are going to swear allegiance to the New World Order. She said that they tried to say, no, she didn't really say that. Yes, she did. She said it. I watched the full clip.
Isn't that wild?
She meant what she said too. I know exactly what she was saying. It's very easy to understand. Their narrative just isn't adding up. They're lying, but we've got video proof. We've got all of the proof. That's why Google is scrubbing their platform from all of these with the medic update, which there's nothing medical. I guess it's the medical mafia update is what I would call that. And we've got, you know, the internet's being scrubbed from information, websites being shut down. This is war. I mean, in my mind, I'm seeing Andrew Breitbart, the little clip where he said, you want to say this, you want to say that, war. This is war.
I'm not familiar.
And it is, and we're going to win, you know, and there's so many fierce people that love the truth so much that are willing to give everything to get the truth out front and center so that people finally see it and people are saved. Humanity is saved. So we're well on our way. The demons are shrieking. We've got them on the run. They're afraid. They are very afraid. I fear nobody. I fear not telling the truth. That's my fear. And I'm going to continue as long as God gives me breath to tell the truth, to mine the earth for truth, to bring heroes that are sharing the truth, that are doing the work that you're doing. And I consider you a modern day hero. And it's my honor to have had this conversation, and let's continue this, because this should be the first of many conversations that we can bring to our viewers and to the world, because together we really are going to change the world for the better, exposing evil. And, you know, the darkness has never been able to put out the light. And that's what we have. We're filled with God's light, and we're going to envelop the world with it. And eventually that light will evaporate completely and totally the darkness. So this is the dawn of a new age.
Yes.
You know, the golden age is right around the corner. Great things are ahead. They're not going to be able to stop us. We outnumber them by probably 1,000,000 to 1. We just need to reach those people so that they can learn the truth and be set free too. The Matrix was a documentary.
Yeah.
We're going to unplug those people. We're going to unplug them all. That's what we're going to do. And we're well on our way, Maryam. Thank you so much. Before we end this interview, I'd love to share with our viewer, what is the call to action, Maryam? How can our viewer join you, help you? What is it that they need to know? What website do they need to visit? And what are your social media handles outside of Twitter, if any?
I want to just say thank you so much, Charlene, for having me on and helping me with my mission. I just am so honored, again, because like I was reading the book and thinking, wow, these people are so kick-ass. What an awesome like Bible, and here we are today. So thank you. I would invite people to buzz on over to honeycolony.com, where we have amazing stories, and arguably we're in the future, and also products. And Simply Transformative is our other site.com. And to please follow me on Twitter, and to help me keep alive. I tell people that a honeybee cannot live for more than 24 hours without her hive. I'm sorry, I don't know why I'm so emotional.
You're doing amazing work, and we hit a nerve together. That's why. That's why. You really mean what you say. You're filled with passion, and it's clearly shining through. And those tears are little diamonds falling from your beautiful eyes. They're worth more than anything, because it just reveals that your heart is in this for the right reasons. And we're going to win. We're together in this. The opposition, they don't have tears. Yeah, looking into their eyes, you'd see the back of their skull, because there's nothing there.
Yeah, so true. And just invite people they can come to my YouTube channel, which is Maryam Henein, BeeLady, and Twitter, which is, I love the platform. I love Twitter. I love writing in 250 characters. And, Twitter doesn't love us back right now. And I know that there's more heat on them and all the social media platforms. And I know that together we are creating a tipping point of truth. So thank you, Charlene, and say hello to Ty.
I sure will. Maryam, thank you. We'll do this again soon, I hope. Behind the scenes, we'll continue to work together. And thank you out there for joining us. I hope you enjoyed this. I sure have. This is a great conversation. We'll continue it. Please support Maryam. Join her on Twitter. Her handle's below, her website's below. So click it, join it, support her, because we need one another. And so as we're clicking in this grid of heroes, and you are our heroes too, we're going to defeat them. Thank you, and God bless. Bye-bye.